Hi, my name is Beatriz Solano, or B, and we are in the New Media Lab. We are Eddie's 102 class. We are Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 o'clock, and right now we're just going to be talking about our research papers, what our objective theses are. And right now with me I have Sarah Thomas, Nyla Lai, and Eve McBride. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing okay, B. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Great.
I'm doing fine. How about you?
Doing great, thanks. All right, so going to Barack across the board. What is our objective theses so far?
So mine is on corporate manipulation of public and political policy. It kind of goes through the history of corporations and how they've used politics and paybacks and things like that, kickbacks to politicians to help get favorable outcomes. It kind of goes into sort of search engine manipulation, how corporations like Google are kind of tweaking algorithms and kind of doing things to help push political agendas or public policy agendas kind of to the forefront to try to help gain popularity on kind of what they view as moral instead of what the public views as kind of right or moral.
All right, Nyla, you want to go?
Yeah, so mine is about psychopaths and sociopaths and the differences between them because lots of people get them mixed up a lot, and I just wanted to explain how they're different because sociopaths are more like, they're more empathetic while psychopaths aren't really because they can't really feel emotions that much and connect to other people as much as sociopaths can, but sociopaths can and psychopaths just can't.
All right, and
I'm writing my paper about the LGBTQ community and how they struggle and have struggled in the past gaining equality in the United States. So basically it's just talking about how the basis of LGBTQ people started and, well, I mean, they've always been around, but they haven't been out and open. And this year we're celebrating 50 years of Pride, which is really exciting. And so my paper is basically just talking about how the struggles they face and what we can do to fix that.
And my research paper is on wrongful convictions, what causes them, especially false confessions and eyewitness testimony, stuff that we really need to put under the microscope and really scrutinize as time goes by, because it's found that eyewitness testimony isn't as reliable as we'd like it to be. Eve, you were talking about corporate influence on politics. Is there anything that we might see in day-to-day life as, the common people, not something that we'd notice that they'd hope we wouldn't, the corporations and the politicians?
I think the biggest thing that's happening nowadays and the biggest thing that people need to be aware of is just the push on social media and just even within search engines and things like that. I think a lot of the studies I found really show that is highly manipulatable. A lot of people, when you do a search engine search, you click on something on the first page. And that's where you get your facts and your data from. And if corporations are paying to have their information pushed to the top, or corporations are picking and choosing what they feel is appropriate content, you can really have a slant, one direction or the other, that may influence, the public realm. And I think we just really need to be cognizant of what's out there. Another thing that's happening too is a lot of people read headlines but don't really get into the articles a whole lot anymore. And so that's another area where they're kind of pushing headlines to shape public opinion, and people just really need to be aware that you really need to do your own kind of research and your own kind of fact digging to make sure that you're getting some good information.
All right. Sarah, you were going on the LGBTQ community, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people who are against such open publicity, since you guys just celebrated Pride, a lot of people talk about how it's not child appropriate.
Okay, there are a lot of people, I would say, at Pride that aren't necessarily dressed for children to see them, but the festival itself is children appropriate for the most part. I mean, there are a lot of drinking,
adult activities,
but there are separate sections for people of 18 and up for them to go, and there is a child section as well of bouncy houses and face painting and all that super fun stuff that kids love. But it's really segregated. The kids don't really travel very far outside of that. They go to maybe the stages, They don't go to the dance one because that's dangerous for them, I think. But they go to like the Latin stage and like the little community stage, which is like local bands and stuff. So
All right, pretty cool. And Nyla, you are definitely bringing some awareness to the mental illness community, especially with the differentiation of
Yes.
psychopaths and sociopaths,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously the media does a lot of injustice to
Oh, yes.
because
definitely.
of they blend them almost, when you said there are some high differences, which are, again?
So in media, like in Netflix shows or like when they have like the Joker, they make him like a schizophrenic social psychopath, and I'm just like that doesn't make any sense, because in the first place, schizophrenic people, they're not actually murderers, like not all, because they are usually hearing voices, but it doesn't make them a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I feel like media has really made them really different from like
Mm-hmm.
what they actually are. So
Mhm.
that's why I just wanted to explain in my paper what kind of people they really are.
Mm-hmm. Not the kind of scary thing we should all be avoiding.
Yeah.
Perfect. Anyone have any questions
How did you guys all find the process for you?
of writing? Or
Yeah, the
of-
process of writing the paper and researching the
Oh,
paper.
stressful. It was definitely stressful. But Professor Webb definitely did give us a lot of help, and he gave us a lot of time to work on it in class. So that made it a lot easier, because I know we all have real busy home lives and kids and whatever. I mean, I don't have kids, but like a lot of people do. It was definitely stressful, but it was very insightful, like being able to look back and see like what people like me suffered through in like the 1980s or like the 1970s and stuff like that. Because Pride did start like in, I don't know, whatever 50 years ago it was, like 1970 something, I think. So yeah, it was definitely stressful, but it was fun.
I found the writing process a bit strenuous. Certainly, finding information and research was really easy, especially because I have a huge interest in criminal justice and how it's evolved throughout the years. But my writing style tends to be that I can only come up with good ideas when it's the very last minute or when I want to write, or else nothing comes out right. And so I've been lucky enough to find several books. My favorite so far is called Picking Cotton, and it's on a sexual assault survivor who accidentally incriminates the wrong man, and he spends over 10 years in prison. After he was taken out of prison because they found out he was the wrong man, she asked for forgiveness. He said yes. He seems to be, from all the interviews I've seen on the two, a really nice person, a really nice man, and they wrote a book together, and it's absolutely amazing.
Well, for me, I feel like I'm kind of the same, because like I don't work well unless it's like last minute, or if it's like I feel like doing it, or else inspiration never really hits me. But I feel like the outline that Professor Webb gave us was really like helpful, because I always run out of ideas quickly. So just being able to have like that just outline helped me a lot.
Like a sort of a guidance.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
really helped.
Definitely.
Yeah, for me, the process was a little bit of a struggle too, just because it wasn't my usual process, and I kind of fought against it for a little while. But once I kind of embraced it, I found it extremely helpful, just to be able to work through his different activities, breaking down topics and then breaking down into clusters, and then kind of gathering materials and reading through them and kind of digesting the material. So that actually wound up being really helpful once I stopped fighting the process. I found that, really good.
How important is a rubric for teachers to make and for students to have?
I would say it's extremely important. I found being able to go back to the rubric and kind of checking and making sure that I was on track really important to the process, and also to ensuring that I'm giving the kind of quality work that he's looking for. I think without it, I would have been kind of a little more lost. I think my content is a lot more robust than it would have been without the rubric and the guidance of the rubric.
Certainly, it goes back to something that you can lean on. If you're confused completely and unsure about what you should be doing, then the rubric is something you can look back to on Canvas, or he, gives it to you as a handout. and you can use it to kind of check off what you need to have done. And it's really useful, especially since we have it through all of these different ways, like through Canvas or email, online, and, in paper. It makes it really accessible to everyone.
Yeah, I think having a rubric definitely helps and makes writing the paper a lot easier. It definitely gives you expectations that the teacher has and makes it clear, because sometimes teachers don't always make it clear in class. Not necessarily Professor Webb, but but making sure that the teachers' expectations are met, so the grade is met. But in all, it helps you decide what you are going to put in your paper.
Yeah, for me, it's the same. A rubric helped me personally because I'm a worrywart, and I always worry, what if I didn't put this in? What if he wanted that? Or so when I get a rubric, I can actually just check off everything that I want, or need to have in my paper. So then once I check everything off, I'm just okay, phew, that's good. I have everything. That means I'll get a good grade. I'll at least know what kind of grade I'll get.
Mm-hmm.
So
a rough idea.
Yeah, rough idea.
Another really good thing that he provided for us was little snippets of examples to really kind of show us what it was he was looking for. He wouldn't give us, too much because he really wanted us to work on our own, but at least having a paragraph to reference that was in kind of, the manner and style that he was kind of looking for, and pointing out how references were cited and things like that I found really helpful too, because I'm a very visual person. So I really like kind of having an example to work off of.
And it's helpful, especially in the syllabus, because it's something that you need to keep regardless. And it was a really smart idea to keep it in there so you can just pull it out and it's in hand. It's on hand. So I don't know about you guys, but this is by far one of the largest projects I've had to work on.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Which means that the topic is really important, that you have to be really interested and really motivated about it.
Yeah.
What led around to choosing your topic? Nyla?
For me, I really like psychology. I wanted to major in it, but then I might minor in it now, I guess. But in high school, I used to study a lot about dissociative identity disorder, and it's basically multiple personality disorder. It really interested me because it felt really fictional, but it was actually a real mental illness. It's where someone can have multiple personalities, but not personalities per se, but more personas, as if there were 5 souls in one body, and then it would keep switching from different souls. And what really intrigued me was that sometimes the person would be able to remember the memories shared in between souls, and sometimes they wouldn't be able to. So I was really interested in that, and that led me to sociopaths and psychopaths because it's also psychology. And yeah, that's really it.
All right, cool. Do you want to go ahead?
Well, I mean, mine's kind of obvious. As a gay woman, the history behind LGBTQ studies and how people used to view and what they went through before me is super intriguing and super interesting. And I feel like it's really important that not only people of the LGBTQ community, but allies and other people as well are educated about stuff that's going on in the community that's not just pertaining to them, So the Stonewall riots that happened in the 1970s, I believe. That's a huge deal. That's the first thing that really started people celebrating pride and people really being accepted. But I mean, there's still definitely struggles today with the transgender military ban that's been going on, and people still discriminating against the LGBTQ community and the people there. And I think it's really important that everybody is educated about the same things, that everybody's on the same page, basically.
So mine really started kind of over the summer. I'd started kind of seeing and reading these articles. There was a big expose done where some of Google's internal emails leaked, where they were talking about manipulating algorithms and changing search results. And then there was some articles about different phrases and things being banned on Facebook, and how all of it was very, very politically motivated. And trying to shape kind of this political dialogue that we were having. And that just kind of struck with me and sat with me. And And then when this paper came up and we were asked to research and write a paper, I was like, that's my hill to die on, so to speak, for this paper.
That's the cue.
Yeah, that's something that I was finding really interesting at the time and something that I wanted to learn more about. And I thought that this paper would really help me dive deeper into that.
All right, cool. And the reason I chose this paper is I've wanted to be a detective since I was in the 4th grade. Prior to that, I wanted to be a nun. But like I said, I wanted to be a detective. And when I came across this issue that apparently was more prevalent than I thought, that people went to jail for things they didn't do, I began doing research, and this is actually a project that's taken me a year and a half now. I'm actually now going to California to go speak on it this weekend, so it's pretty cool. It's something that certainly hasn't been brought out to the light, and everyone thinks that it's something from history, like the Salem witch trials, which obviously you can't confess to being a witch. We all know that's something that should be stuck in Halloween. And a lot of people against counterculture, people weren't actually burned to the stake. They were actually hung. One dude was actually stoned to death. But it's just something that definitely stuck with me. Like your topic, Eve, it just stays around. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We're going to say goodbye. My name is Beatriz, and thank you for joining us, Sarah, Nyla, and Eve. Have a great day.